And there's the green dot. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it's Wednesday. It's WTF CNN. CNN has been on a roll lately. So we're going to talk a little bit about the debate last night. And I ain't going to lie to you, I didn't make through the whole thing. I just picked up a couple of highlights here and there because, God, just... Oh. And then there's the CNN town hall, the most recent town hall, the equality town hall, and I hate that word. Anytime I hear somebody use the word equality, there's one thing that is absolute guaranteed. You're talking to a damn liar.
Oh, no, you're not talking to a liar. You're talking to somebody that doesn't understand what equality actually means. Because I think there's two classes of people here. There are the people that run CNN, and then there are the people that try and appear on CNN.
Yeah,
and the people
there are the damn liars, and then there are the puppets through which
yes.
the damn liar speaks.
Yes, but they're misusing the word. Because equality in and of itself, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But of course, it's that whole question about, are we talking about equality of opportunity or equality of outcome? Because those are two very different things.
We demand equal rights. Okay, cool. Sign this draft card. No, we just want the vote. Oh, so you want equal privilege and not equal responsibility.
Yeah. Okay, so first things first, and I'm sure we'll get more into the debate tomorrow because, woo, buddy, you want to talk about Totar Win? That's Donald Trump.
I don't know. It might have to go to Amy Klobuchar for telling Elizabeth Warren that it's a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream. Your health care plan is a peace pipe dream. Whoa.
Oh, I hadn't even made that pun in my mind yet. No, there were some amusing things that happened. There was the battle between Mayor Pete and Beta, and yeah, I do mean Beta. God, that's one that's just going to be funny because they're talking about enacting policy. Yeah, they're talking about enacting policy, and Mayor Pete. Because he's a little smarter than the average bear, and if Democrats had half a brain, he'd be in the lead, and he's not. And he's talking about the difference between what your ideals are and what can actually be accomplished in reality. And Beta challenges him and it's like, hey, look, big policies require courage. And there's just this little fantastic throwaway line where Mayor Pete's like, I don't need for you to lecture me about courage. And it was like, oh, damn, son, shots fired. What? Because he didn't say, hey, I joined the military and you didn't. I don't need for you to talk to me about courage. But that's pretty clearly what he meant. And for the rest of that little segment, Beta's looking at the ground. He's kind of shuffling his notes, and he looks up at the moderators and he shuffles his notes and he looks up at the moderators. And it was really amusing because for the majority of the exchange between the two of them, they were facing each other. And then as soon as Mayor Pete zinged him, he went full Beta. It was amusing. But let's back up. CNN erases black trans lives.
Yeah.
Okay. CNN is the worst. There is no question about it. They pretend to be objective, and of course they're not. Thank you, James O'Keefe. Ooh, actually got Jeff Zucker on tape.
And by the way, WTF CNN, we've got the video now. Jeff Zucker, straight up. Impeachment is everything. Oh, well,
Yeah,
we're
and
not
here's
guessing anymore.
here's the thing. I don't actually have a problem with CNN being biased. I really don't. Like I consume quite a bit of YouTube commentary every day. If you hear chattering, I have little ones who are up a little earlier than normal. Hey guys, love you. Go that way. Anyhow, I don't have a problem with them being biased. What I have a problem with is them pretending like they're not biased. Just be honest about your bias. I have a lot of respect for Tim Pool, who has told me several times that he's not a fan of Donald Trump, that he is a Democrat, that he's donated money to Tulsi Gabbard's campaign. But that's the thing. Tim Pool tells me that he's not a fan of Donald Trump. Tim Pool tells me that he donated to Tulsi Gabbard's campaign. This actually increases Tim Pool's credibility. I understand the lens in which I need to view Tim Pool through because he's honest about the lens he views the world through. And it's why he's one of my primary sources of news. By that same token, it's why the only time I ever even turn on CNN at this point is to watch things like the debate because God, they're just trash. They really are. So their town hall, pure propaganda. I mean, all the way pure propaganda. Because there's the level of propaganda where, oh, despite the fact that we basically have full marriage equality in this country, so saith the Supreme Court, and Justice Kennedy's emotionally charged, where he wrote the decision in that case.
When he wrote the law?
Yeah, when he wrote the law. Yeah. Yeah, when he interpreted the more.
Judge legislated.
Yeah, it's what they do. It is what they do. One day I'm actually going to pull up the exact.
It's not supposed to be.
Yeah, well, he decided to interpret morality instead of legality, which, that's not what the court is there for. The court is there to interpret law, not ethics. It just is what it is.
But anyway. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole down which we can travel for some time. And unfortunately, I got some meeting to get to. So, but yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So
I feel shame.
So there's shame. Yeah, you should be ashamed. So there was the town hall about, LGBTQ plus 1, 2, 3 alphabet soup rights. But it's not necessary. I mean, gay people have got equal rights in this country. They do. It's just a fact. They can join the military. They get deathbed benefits, all of that sort of stuff. Their marriages are recognized in all 50 states. So it's a total red herring to even put forth the proposition that this is a thing that needs to be discussed. But CNN took it a step further, and they let all these bizarre people into the town hall so that they could grandstand and make the point. And at one point, everybody's cracking up over the black tranny. Google me. But the one that I actually think really, really bears paying attention to was the child tranny that asked Elizabeth Warren a question, in which Elizabeth Warren totally pandered. I was like, oh, good for you. Oh, good for you. Oh. Yeah. I think the real goal there was actually to put trans people on TV, to shift the Overton window over, to normalize this behavior. And let me be really clear. This is a point that requires some nuance. If you want for me to stop calling you Bill and start calling you Susie, and you want to wear dresses and say you're a girl, that's fine. I actually support your individual freedom to make that choice. I'm behind it 101%. But you can't make me agree with it. You can't make me think that it's normal I'm sorry if I have the wrong think.
And now let me say something about this. I I have actually had quite a bit of experience with some trans people, and this is something that's very complex. Uh, on a personal level for everyone involved. So, if I meet someone for the first time who is a trans either or, right? Um and they introduced themselves to me as whatever their chosen gender is with their chosen name, that's not a problem. That's not a problem at all. I had a cousin. I've actually got a couple of cousins, but one in particular. Uh, in fact, no. Let me. I have I have two cousins that are trans. One I did not know well for a long time, and then we kind of reconnected after she began being living as a man. And that wasn't difficult at all. The other cousin, however, and I'm very pointedly not using names or details, my cousin, as far as I'll go with this conversation. My other cousin, however, was a male who transitioned to female. And that was very difficult for me to process on a few levels. It it was never difficult for me to be courteous and kind and to love my cousin. Okay? Male or female, this was my cousin. Um but they talk about dead naming and all that crap. I have fond memories of that cousin as a little boy. When we were both little boys. Um
Chris, you were
Playing
little.
video games. Yeah, I mean I was only like 180 pounds at 12. Um but when we were children, I have fond memories from when we were children. And then knowing her as an adult after the transition, uh it became, shall we say, philosophically complex, existentially complex to think on memories of a person who is now a woman but was at the time a boy, and how to think about that person. That's complex. That's difficult. Because there is a fact of the matter. And there is a truth of the matter. Now, from the experiences I've had with gay and trans people, I am a firm believer that there are cases in which it is a genetic indices. And there are other cases in which a person has made a choice. I don't think the either or argument on nature versus nurture fits the bill on gay and trans. I think there are some people that choose to be gay or trans. They may not even understand that they have made a choice or that they have been peer pressured into one. But there are some that make the choice, and there are some that had the choice made for them. And that's what I meant a second ago when I said the fact versus the truth of the matter. Um, this cousin in particular, I am certain there was a strong genetic factor, and I will never know. No one will ever know for sure. With in this case in particular, it could be that he had the genetic indices that pushed him toward homosexuality to such a degree that he mistakenly believed himself to be trans and then made the transition to female. Or it could be that he had the genetic indices which pressed him, which actually made it the case that he was a woman trapped in a man's body. And that distinction is very difficult to even contemplate, let alone argue. But this was one case where I certainly believe that there was a strong genetic indicator towards something. And that I've given a lot of thought to that. A lot of thought to that. For a lot of reasons. And I've kind of forgotten where I was going with that. But gay and trans people, the whole alphabet community makes up about 4% of the population. And like I just said, there are those who make the choice. And we're seeing more and more with young children. Excuse me. The choice is being made not by their genetics, not by the children, but there's a choice that's being made by their activist parents. And that, just like bringing up this 9-year-old trans kid on the CNN town hall, that's just patent child abuse.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
And I bring
up exactly.
And I bring up the number, the 4%, for a reason. The entire alphabet community represents such a small portion of the population that the pandering to them does not have a real value for a voting bloc. Now, they're enough to bump the needle in places that have an extraordinarily high concentration of those demographics. San Francisco, Los Angeles, so on and so forth. But
Midtown Atlanta.
Yeah, anywhere that already has that high concentration of that demographic already also has their plus 30D. So they're not being pandered to by the Democrats for political gain at the ballot box. They're being pandered to explicitly because a noisy, vocal, active, violent minority is valuable for causing division and duplicity at the polling stations.
Yeah. Well,
it's being done explicitly to cause harm to Americans. Now, I'm not saying that the alphabet people themselves are harmful to America. Frankly, they're a small enough group that they don't present a legitimate threat. But the noise out of the group, and nothing that the group stands for ostensibly poses a threat to the good order and stability. But there's a difference between having a sexual preference and having active sex in the open street in view of the public.
Yeah, don't take your kids to Pride. Whoops. Not unless you want to have some serious conversations with them. And it's funny that you bring all that up, because I think that's a version of what CNN was doing.
Because it just made the show twice as long as I meant for it to be this morning. But yeah.
But that's a version of what CNN is doing. They're gay pride virtue signaling, and they're trying to normalize certain things because they do need a victim group. That, in fact, you want to point out one of the biggest differences, in a broad manner of speaking, between your average Republican and your average Democrat. Your average Democrat sees victims, sees systems of oppression. And I mean, that's where all this patriarchy, third wave, fourth wave feminism, and all of this other just mind-numbing bullshit comes from. Like, it was not a conservative Republican that thought, hey, I know, we'll send somebody to school and put them $30,000 in the hole so they can get a degree in gender studies. Like, that was not a conservative idea.
Right.
But it's not just the victim groups themselves that they need. They need the division that victim groups create. That's why I saw a fantastic meme that said, excuse me, that said, about 5 years ago, gay marriage was legalized by the Supreme Court. And since that time, we've gone all the way to having trans children on live TV. And yeah, we talk about fallacies and how they're not always fallacies a lot on this show. Well, that whole slippery slope fallacy thing. No, one of the things that I was always personally worried about was this is the slippery slope. And I've always been afraid that at the bottom of the slope, it was abuse of children. Because your orientation, that's legitimately you. I'm with Chris of this. I tend to think that for the most part, this is genetic, but there are some environmental factors that could contribute to why you feel like you're gay or why you feel like you're trans or whatever. And again, I fully support your freedom to engage in any activity if it doesn't pick my pocket or break my leg. Thomas Jefferson gave us the gold standard on how rights and liberties and so forth should work. You
How
being
dare
gay.
you?
Yeah, how dare I? Man, she'd be cute if she'd smile. Is that a sexist joke? I hope it's a
How
sexist
dare
joke.
you?
Oh, yeah. Let's make it salty and spicy.
Yeah.
But what CNN did, they're dragging us down that slippery slope. And at the bottom of that slope is abuse of children. I didn't oppose gay marriage for a lot of the same reasons that other people did. Oh, it invalidates my marriage in some way. No, it doesn't. The only two people who can invalidate my marriage are my wife and I. Like that's just a fact. But what it did do is now that's no longer a victim group. That's no longer a cause your lefties can champion. Because you notice they never run out of causes to champion. They never run out of causes to champion. Oh, well, this is the civil rights issue of our era. That is such a bullshit statement. I mean, seriously, shit up your nose if you honestly believe that something is the civil rights issue of your era. The civil rights issue was the civil rights issue. There is nothing comparable in the modern body politic and has not been since the civil rights issue was decided. And God, CNN, just shame on you. Shame on you for contributing to the abuse of that minor who will forever be remembered as the kid that was trans on TV. It's sort of like, if you're the kid that shits himself on the playground, the other kids talk about it for years and make fun of you for it. Good God, this is that on steroids. Like, there's just no way that some 9, 10, 11-year-old suddenly understood, oh, I was supposed to be a girl. Okay, sure. The only limited experience I have with children who are some form of transitional, as it were, God, all their parents are super leftist. I mean, super leftist. And which means there's one of two theories at play. Either your more conservative parents are suppressing this behavior, actively reinforcing the patriarchy and all that other garbage people talk about, or alternate theory, the liberal parents are actually pushing this narrative and they're exposing young children to concepts of a sexual nature too early in their life in order to use their own children as activism tokens. Oh, my son loves to wear dresses. Look at me. I'm a good little liberal. My son's probably going to need therapy for life, but I'm a good little liberal. Everybody give me social credit points. I'm going to put pictures of him on Twitter and Facebook, and I'm going to get so many likes because I am so woke.
Yeah.
WTF CNN. All right, dude. All right, I'm done. I could. Well, no, I'm not done. I could literally just go about how this is child abuse and how
Oh, I
hormone
know.
blockers are evil, evil, evil things. But
But we'll
luckily,
just leave it with this.
yeah, CNN sucks.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all I got for you guys. And it's time to go to work. Be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow. I don't know where I am.